the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bad face. Now he's got a hell behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I balance to my knees.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened to Hook, but we will go ahead and get started. So this is this, that, and the third, and we have a very interesting topic today. We are talking about people who are choosing abstinence as a way of life and kind of going through some of the reasons why and things like that. So we are excited to have you guys here. Hope y'all are excited to be here as well. So do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go first. I'm Jessica Roberts, and based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. My 9 to 5 is a web developer, but my passion is Christian dating. And so I was really excited to have this conversation about how to navigate modern dating as a Christian. And so I'm just really excited to get into it.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll go up next. So my name is Gigi, and I am a personal brand coach, and I'm also a youth director at my church, and super excited to be here. I also do a little bit of podcasting on the side as well. So this is definitely my thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Praise the Lord, everybody. My name is Joshua France. I am a youth leader at my church. For career-wise, I work in a warehouse. I'm into the, talking about, how would you say it, abstinence, as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank y'all for being here. Welcome back, Hook.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you guys for being patient with me. Thank you so much for holding it down, Shannon. So for today's episode, right, we're really going to talk about the path least chosen, the decision to wait. So our esteemed panelists here, they're going to open up about what abstinence means to them, the strength it takes to stay true to their values, and how this decision has helped them grow in faith, in love, and most importantly, in self-worth. So Shannon, let me ask you, how important is this conversation to have?
I think it's extremely important. So it's not one that I say I necessarily have ever considered prescribing to, but I hope I can be, this is my baby, so I'm going to talk about it. So when I first started understanding her journey, it was really a place where I was just like, oh, I personally have never taught that, or stated to her that was a good place to be in. So just seeing her over the last 2 or 3 years kind of walk this path and how she's grown and how her life has changed, I'm extremely proud of her. I'm be honest, now her mom and I are on the same journey, not by choice. Which we laugh about that all the time, but she is even an inspiration to me, right? You would never think that because I'm the mom, she's the daughter, but she's also an inspiration to me. So I'm just proud of her. So I thought it'd be great to have this platform to let you all come on and share your journeys and your stories. Because again, it's not something that I taught her specifically, although I didn't want her to do things, but we didn't have these conversations about being abstinent. So I think it's really important to share it, to let the community know, to let young women know, young men know that this is definitely a path that you can go down. And the journey is not hard. The journey is blessed. And it's an experience for you.
Absolutely. And I'm the same as I'm in the same boat, right? I've never prescribed to it. However, pause. I'm currently raising 2 teenage daughters, right? And we've had the talk already. I don't. It wasn't very comfortable. And although I didn't want to have it, I know how important it was to have that conversation, right? Because I think it's important to early on address that, because let them know what to expect, right? And they're at the age where they're about to start dating, so I just feel that this conversation is really going to help me guide that conversation along, or be more comfortable having that conversation with my girls when the time comes. So I'm all ears, man. I really want to hear what you guys have to say, and we'll go ahead and get this thing cracking, man. And
Yeah.
for the viewers, we want you guys to react. Please comment, share, and also subscribe. I think this is definitely a conversation worth having. So I'll go ahead and begin, and please feel free to answer in any order that you choose. But I do want to ask each of you individually, like what led you to the decision to practice abstinence, if you are practicing that? And for you, Joshua, I know you said you're a youth leader at your church. Tell me kind of how that conversation goes with, or how you impress upon these young people the importance of abstaining.
Um, I always go to the word first, you know, and I let them know that we overcome by our testimonies, and I give them my testimony. I'm ex Kingpin. Before I got into the church, I was selling nothing but drugs. I was living a fast life, fast cars, and things like that. And I've got scars from it, you know. And a lot of the times I was, you know, I could say whoremongering, because that's what I was, you know. Just sex was an everyday thing for me before I got into the church. And when I got into the church, I've been going on saved for almost 3 years now. When I got into the church, I completely told myself I'm giving myself to God. When you take on an oath and you go down in Jesus' name, you get filled with the Holy Ghost, you are giving your body to Christ. And that's what I've been on. I've been drug free for almost 3 years, alcohol free for almost 3 years. You know, I haven't had any sex in 3 do it. But a lot of times, I think with the younger folks, they need to hear real conversations. They need to hear the
Mm-hmm.
real. You know, me coming
Mm-hmm.
out of the streets. If you don't come to me real, I can't receive it. You know, and that's just what it is. It's the truth. But with this generation that we're dealing with today, they need to hear truth. And truth will make us free, but you got to be in a place where you can give somebody truth and not ashamed of where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I
how my
appreciate that
conversations
you shared
go.
that, because that's not, when we think about people choosing abstinence as a lifestyle or deciding not to have sex, you never think about the before, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
all the things that you described and how your life was and the things that you testify that you did. No one ever considers that you can come from here and do a complete 180,
Yes.
and that there's a
And,
journey there.
and
It's
Joshua,
a journey.
I can appreciate your perspective, because I have although I've never personally lived that lifestyle, I have a lot of friends that did, right? Your former
Yes.
lifestyle. So, and I can appreciate that, because there are conversations that you can have with the youth that I can't have, because I don't have that perspective. I can't tell them how to overcome when they're in that situation. So I certainly appreciate all that you're doing, brother. Certainly proud of you and the change you've made. That is certainly warms my heart to even hear that, man. And certainly is definitely motivating. So I appreciate you coming
Mhm.
on.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And Jessica and Gigi. So what led you guys to your decision to practice abstinence?
Well, to follow up with what Joshua said, I 100% agree. You know, we came from living lives that were may not necessarily have aligned with, you know, Christian faith, even though I've always believed in God. But I know that for me, it was more of believing in Him, but I wasn't fully following Him. I wasn't fully submitted to what His plan and design truly is for marriage. And so tomorrow actually makes year 4 of abstinence for me. 4 years since I ended my last relationship and have been, you know, like solid on this journey. But what really brought it to light for me was a video that my mom actually sent to me when I exited my last relationship 4 years ago. And it was a video that was explaining how basically marriage is designed to be a covenant. So God desires us to partner with one person under his covenant of marriage, it's a promise that he blesses. And when we go outside of the covenant of honoring God through our marriage, we are now agreeing with the enemy's plan for our lives and for sex itself, because God designed it to be between a man and a woman who are married, who are under his blessing. And so I experienced what it was like to date outside of covenant, outside of God's promise, and not have peace, and not truly have the blessing and the fulfillment of the promise that's truly designed for marriage. And so once I began to understand the consequences of those actions and just the confusion and the turmoil that you feel, and I think that people who are not trying to walk the path of God, of Christ, they're not going to feel this same level of conviction. Like, it's going to feel very comfortable to just date normally and do your own thing. But I feel like once you truly want to surrender to God, you're going to start to feel some conviction, just because you know that it's not the pure way that he's choosing for us. So deep down, even if you try to dismiss it, you know, okay, he's probably not happy that I'm out here. And so for me, again, it was understanding what he truly says about marriage that really set me free. And I have some scriptures as well that I was able to come into alignment with. And really quickly, I'll just share Ephesians 5:25, which says, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." He designed it so that the husband would be the head. And it says in his word that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. And so I think understanding the design of how God created it to be will really shift your perspective. But a lot of times we're not taught this, you know. A lot of times we don't hear it, you know, from our parents. We don't hear it in our communities. We don't understand how God truly created marriage. So how can you expect people to know unless you share your testimony and your journey and how you came to understand that design? So I think that's what is so important about today's conversation, is we're able to point people to that path and give them at least some light and some understanding about why we do what we do.
Yeah. And, you know, to Gigi's point, I will say that I just got to the point where I recognized that God's way was better for me, because I was, like Gigi said, going through it. You know, like when sex was involved in my relationships, it was so much drama. Like, I could not separate from a man who was not giving me anything, because there was that sexual attachment, you know, and it was just much harder for me to see clearly. And so when I recognized that, I was like, maybe doing it my own way is not working. But I also, you know, just through therapy, recognized that I'm not that kind of girl, like, you know, just out there doing it with everybody. Like, that's not me. And so I recognized, again, through therapy, that I actually had a moment of rebellion when I was about like 17, 18 years old. And I got into this like situationship when I went to a school called Midlands Tech. And I just recognized that I wasn't getting the same like love and commitment that I wanted from him. And so I took the easier thing, which was the sex. And so it was a downhill spiral from then. So I went to college and I was just wilding, you know, in part because I was rebelling against this idea that I couldn't actually have what I wanted, which was a true commitment. So I just did what everybody else was doing. I did the easier thing. And again, it just caused so much turmoil in my life. And so I really just had to just one day, like, just, you know, after crying all this time, I just had to recognize like what can I do to better my situation? And I just had to get real with myself about like, there's something that I can do, and I can change how I'm interacting with this thing called sex. And then I got more involved in church, and I started to recognize that God also had a plan for intimacy and physical intimacy, and in what place it should have in our lives. And so really just through that, I was able to build upon this personal revelation that I had, and then just work on finding community like Gigi and Josh, and just people to keep me accountable, and to know that there was no condemnation in God. So whatever I had been doing, whatever thoughts I had, Jesus had forgiven me for all that, right? So I just needed to forgive myself and move on.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys all for sharing. And I was really curious to find out what led you guys to this journey that you guys are currently on. And I'll tell you, especially from a male standpoint, you know, even growing up, right? Um, Before people even talk to me about school or grades or anything, the first question they ask me is, how many girlfriends you got, right? So we begin to think that that's the norm. Like, okay, well, if they're asking me that, apparently I'm supposed to have several or more than one. So now it becomes a competition, you know what I mean? So now it's like, okay, well, you got three, I'm gonna get four. You got four, I'm gonna get five. You know what I'm saying? So,
I hooked on what on this again. The thing I was thinking about when y'all were telling your stories is that um, the idea of having physical relationships is always seemed as the norm, right? Like you can't date, you can't meet someone, you can't develop a close connection to someone without making it physical in some sort of sense. And just hearing the fact that you all had a time in your life where you kind of transitioned from that was really, really interesting because you can't have meaningful relationships that are not based on a physical connection. They can be based on being in the same community. They can be based on, the schools you go to or the churches that you go to. So, how do y'all feel about when you say that you found a community to be around? How important is that in making sure that you can stay on the path that you've chosen?
100%.
100%.
Highly important. Highly important.
Very, very important.
Yeah, and I'm asking that question around the vein of like, like Hook was saying, the first thing he got asked is how many girlfriends you got. But if you have people in your ear talking to you like that and not talking to you in the position of where you are in your life right now, you can be tempted to do all sorts of things that you wouldn't necessarily do. So can y'all talk to us a little bit more about the community and what do you find out there and how did you find that?
Well, I'll just say really quickly for me, I noticed that the enemy works best in isolation when we're away
Oh
from
yeah.
community. So when you don't have like-minded community around you and anything that you do, it's going to be 10 times harder. No matter if you're trying to become sober, if you're trying to be successful in your career, like you need people, you need to network, like you need like-minded people in anything you do. And so I believe that as children of God, He didn't put us on this earth to just do life alone. And
Amen.
so recognizing that we're called to be community, that really changes the game for you because now you're not trying to do this walk by yourself. Like it's very common and normal to feel temptation and to come into contact with somebody who's cute and you feeling them. And it's like, now you questioning, do I still want to stay on this journey? Because I'm really liking his vibe. And you need somebody in your ear that's not just you. So that has been so important for me, just having like-minded community. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to someone else.
What about you, Josh?
Community is everything in this walk of faith, in the natural walk of life. I have come to a realization that we wait too late for community. Jesus is the object for fellowship. We look at Jesus for fellowship. He was around a ton of people. He had his chosen apostles. He had his disciples that followed him. And then you got to think about the time he had isolation. Not only is fellowship good, but you need some time to sit back and think about who you have around you. I think a lot of the times we just wait too late. For me, I can say that I waited too late to get community, even as a young man. I think these conversations need to be had with younger kids at a younger age because I was sexually active at the age of 10 years old. That's the first time I ever had sex. But most people don't hear this because we don't have a community of young black men, young black women, whatever race, talking about the things that they have been through and sharing. Knowledge is power, wisdom is key. And if any man lack wisdom, you got to ask of God, but you can also ask of your brothers and your sisters, and we can give out information that can help the next.
Yeah. And shameless plug, I think one of the best abstinent communities, or if you're just curious about what abstinence can look like in a modern way, then the Sexless Tribe is, I believe, one of the best places to go because it's not just your age people, it's not just Black people, and she also prioritizes having meetups every year. So you have this online community that you can reach out to when you need to, but there's also a time where we can fellowship together. And so, really, I was just incentivized to reignite my faith, reignite my walk, going to the conference, just seeing other people and hearing what they were struggling with, hearing what was helping them, and just recognizing that like nobody has to do this by themselves. And it's actually very effective for a lot of other people. So if it's something that's on my heart, it's a value that I have, it's something that I know God wants for me, and I'm seeing other people succeed at it, then why couldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing that you even said that. Like, I believe conferences are key in this day and age. I literally just came back from California. I was at a church conference there for 7 days, but I got to meet so many other people that was like-minded like me, and that's another way to network because, it doesn't always have to be spiritual. You can get natural with people and, that's a type of way to bond. But it is so imperative in this generation right now, what we're dealing with in the world, how the devil done crept in. He's everywhere. We need conferences. We need fellowship. It just helps the people. It really does. It really does.
Well, I want to get into it. Gigi, I think you said you're in a church leader, a youth group leader, and so are you, Josh. And again, I grew up in the church, um, raised my children in the church. However, this is not a conversation that came up, right? No one talked about your abstinent journey or being abstinent or how that relates to your walk, being married and your walk with faith. So, how do y'all bring these conversations up today in those youth groups, or do they still not come up in the same way?
Ooh-wee. Hey, I'm trying to tell you, we losing more people than we are winning because we're not having these conversations. And that's just the honest. That's honesty right there. I know at my church conference that I was just at, we had a conversation, and when they brought the topic up, I was big-eyed because I'm like, wow, we're doing this today. This it was living while single in the church. You don't never hear anything like that because we don't discuss it in the church. They want us to live oh so holy, but we got to talk about the things that we're facing. um how I bring it up to the youth, I ask them questions. They ask me questions. I think that's the biggest bridge you can build is when young people feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with actually speaking to you. If I can't have a conversation with you, why would I open up about the things that I'm having trouble with, or the things that I'm tormented with, or the things that I'm hooked on to? Because there's a lot of young people that's hooked on to sex right now between the ages of 14 to 21, but they don't have nobody to talk to. And yeah, I just tell them whatever you want to talk about. You can tell me. I done been through it all. I come
Mm-hmm.
as let me say, they got a cut and I'm the band-aid. I'm coming with Christ on me. That's how I come to them.
Gigi, what about you? Do y'all have these conversations?
I'm so glad that this conversation was brought up. And Joshua, thank you for the work that you're doing with your youth and the impact that you're making, because it is reminding me of the importance of having this conversation with my youth. Because a lot of times it's really a sensitive subject with the younger folks, because you don't want to cross too many boundaries when it comes to like, okay, this is somebody's child. So I have to explain it in a way where it'll be received. And I'm also not sharing too much. So this is something that I have to start brainstorming about, because I feel like I'm very equipped to speak on it, but I haven't thought about teaching it to younger age people. I always talk about it with people who are more my age, but no, Joshua is right. This has to start when they're younger. They're learning about sex in middle school, sometimes earlier than that.
Earlier,
So
he said 10. Like I,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they
yeah.
done took sex ed completely out the schools. So
Mhm.
when I was in middle school, I'm 27 years old. So when I was in middle school, I don't even know how long ago. We still had sex ed. They don't even have that no more. So they not. They don't know about the certain STDs you can get. What's this? What's that? What is herpes? what is chlamydia? You know, they don't even have those conversations no more. So it's really, if we don't have the conversation, we leaving them as deers in headlights, you know?
Right.
And it's really sad. I think we got to just be honest with them. If that's me.
Respect.
And I do think that that is the downfall of leaving things to solely the parents, because after a while, the child will spend more of their day in school than they will with their nuclear family. So there, I do believe that there should be some subsidizing of what is good and just for children. And maybe it's not in a religious way if you're going to a public school, but you can have very universal truths expressed in a way about like chlamydia and about STDs and about relationships and what's good touching, what's bad touching, what's consent. You know, those things you don't have to put a religious label on them, but they're still necessary for children to know and to be discussing amongst themselves. So I really think like just advocating for more like universal legislation of just like relationship content in schools would, I think, would help parents just open the conversation up.
Very good.
I agree. So, have you all faced a lot of pressure or criticism for your choice, and how do you handle that?
I guess I'll go first. So I wouldn't say that I have faced pressure because of making the choice for abstinence, but I will say that there is this pressure as you start to get towards your late 20s, early 30s to just be in a relationship, period. And so because I know that my values are different now and I'm waiting for someone who is aligned spiritually and, you know, with their values and everything, that doesn't put me in a category to have as many options. I know there's someone out there that is for me, but it doesn't put me in the category to have as many people to pick from. So I'm waiting on God, trusting his timing and focusing on doing the work that I'm called to do during this period. And people don't understand that. They're like, why aren't you in a relationship? Like you should be dating. This is your prime time. Like, so I get that more than anything. Like, oh, maybe I can hook you up with him or her. And it's like, that's not for me. And that's not what I'm looking for. People just see you as, okay, you should be a wife, go date, get out there. And it's like, you know, I feel like, yes, that's true. But the path that I'm on doesn't require me to go out there and date the same way that I used to. So therefore I'll wait and I'll trust his timing, but people don't understand that. So that's where the pressure comes in for me.
Jessica, you want to answer that too?
I was honestly going to say the same thing. Okay. I think the criticism from men about like, oh, well, are you a virgin? And I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, so why are you choosing to do this? Like, what's going on? As if people can't make a 180 in their life, as if people can't evolve, right? And want something different from their life, you know? So I always bring up the topic like, okay, so if you're a drug addict, like I can never not be a drug addict anymore. Like, so I think it's that, but also I find a lot of power in there not being many options in dating now, because I feel like it's so much easier to weed out the scammers in the storm. Oh my gosh. I love when I'm like, hey, like, what's your faith walk? And they was like, I mean, I know God, but you know, I don't be going to church like that. Or like, I don't know about this whole abstinence thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like we can be friends, you know, but it is so much easier to be like, I know for a fact that I don't have to wait 6 months and do that whole Steve Harvey 90-day thing to figure out that we're not aligned. And so I think it's been really great just to be able to assert my values. And I do think there's a line between being like aggressive and being like, how Christian are you? And then just allowing a conversation to flow where you can tell and you can understand like what somebody values and knowing that it's not going to be for you.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jessica, because you brought up that point earlier and I was going to piggyback off of that. But like, no, seriously, I know for me personally, I had a tendency of going for vibes more than, okay, his actual potential and him knowing his worth and his purpose. Like when I was younger, I was just going for, is the connection there? Like, is he cute? That's good enough. And I had no understanding of my purpose or how he is supposed to lead. I had no clue. And so, as Jessica mentioned, when you take sex off the table, you're actually able to see clearly, because sex can be a blinder. It absolutely can, because you're so focused on what feels good in that moment. And you build this attachment where your soul is like, now I need this person. Now I need this. Now I'm dependent on this. And you might not even like the person anymore. You might be fed up with them, but you're constantly making excuses for the person because you've become used to their body. You've become used to that connection opposed to the spiritual connection. And I believe, again, when you take that off the table, you can really see right away who this person is. It's no like upfront. What are you about? What are you for? What are your values? Where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years? What's your life goal? Where are you leading me? You can have these deep conversations up front and save yourself the heartbreak and the time and the pain, because you took that off the table and now you see the person for who they really are.
So we're having this conversation and, we're going back again. Oh, okay, I'll do it too.
Hello,
Block it.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm embarrassing you. I'm sorry, Donna.
No, you're good. You're good.
So we're having this conversation, but one of the things I was thinking about is how prevalent is this particular thing in your faith walk? Like so we're talking about it because everybody brings up sex, and sex is everywhere. Sex is on TV, sex is on, advertisements is everywhere. But like in your life, in your faith walk, this is like low man on the totem pole of all the other things that you have going on in your life. It just seems to be probably the one thing that the society focuses on more than anything. So can you talk to us about that? How low is this on your list of things when you're going around every day just living your life? You're not thinking about, oh, I'm abstinent. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not constantly on your mind, is what I'm getting at. How does that look for you?
I'll say for me, it has become not a priority or a focus, because as I've grown to know my identity through Christ, I've become very much purpose driven. Like I'm focused on actually accomplishing the things that I believe God has called me to do, the work that He's given me. And I believe in purpose partners. I believe that when you get married, God has designed someone for you that will help you accomplish what you're supposed to do in this life. It's not just about marrying because you feel good with the person. It's about, where is he leading you to? What is the purpose and the mission that he's on, so that I can sub with him and support him and we can accomplish this thing together. So because I'm focused on purpose, I no longer am focused on the sex piece alone, because I need to know that you're going to lead me somewhere. Of course, I have goals for myself, but I want to be able to support you and where you are also trying to go, and we can build together. So for me, it's all about purpose and mission and alignment. And then, of course, the sex will come into play, and it'll be amazing because we're not only focused on, just us. It's about building. It's about, what we can accomplish together. So my mindset is, it's on purpose, baby, honestly.
I love that. So it's not really a conversation that you're always having with someone that you're abstinent.
Right.
This is not a everyday conversation that you would have with somebody. But how do you bring it up when you do meet someone? How does that come up in the conversation? Do they normally bring it up, or you automatically just tell them this is where I am?
I think it's twofold. I think this is just my little rule. If you've had like max 2 conversations with them and they have not brought up God one time, then that to me is like a little like, okay, what's on your mind constantly? Because God is on my mind constantly. I am constantly wanting to talk about something I read in the Bible, constantly want to talk about something I learned at church. And so it will just come up in conversation for me. And so sometimes I think that's it. And so you can just see how serious somebody is about their walk, right? Because we're all in different places in our walk. But I would say that for a man, I think it's important to just bring it up like in a light sense in the first like 2 to 4 weeks, just because I think it's a conversation that can be wrapped up in, okay, what's your faith walk like? And so if he shies away from that, I think that's also a telltale sign that he's not serious about submitting that part of his life. And again, that just shows that you're not aligned. But I don't think that like the first date you should be like, are you abstaining? Like, are you drinking? When's the last time you had sex? Are you watching porn? Like, that's just it's too much of an interview. Like, it should be getting to know that person, and hopefully you're meeting people in the spaces that you already frequent. So if you're going to the abstinence conferences, hopefully you can meet a man who's already there. So y'all can already have that shared value system. And yeah, I just don't think it has to be like an interview where you're like checking off a box and they feel like a number to you. But I do think that it should come up naturally in like the next 4 weeks.
Okay, so you're not on the Steve Harvey 90 days, you're on the 4 weeks.
I just think it's gonna naturally come up. I'm gonna talk about something because I don't know if y'all saw that video. It just came out, but a pastor was basically bisexual, like his whole marriage. And the wife was there, just like she was just covering up all his like homosexual relationships that he was having in the church, and so they had to keep church hopping. So but anyway, that show is so riveting to me. I would love to talk to somebody about that. So like sex or a sexual topic would come up with the person that I am dating at the time. And so if he shies away or if he says something, then I'm like, okay, that's the language of somebody who's not submitted in this way. That's the natural progression of a relationship where people will just start telling on themselves, basically.
So you'll bring up videos or bring up something you saw, something you read, and then try to feel out how that person discusses it with you to kind of see if they're aligned with your values or where you are in your journey, as one way to kind of have the conversation without having the conversation.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go into it thinking like, okay, I'm going to have this conversation so I can see what he's going to say. Because again, I think that's the wrong mentality to have. Like, I'm just trying to get to know him to the best of my ability. So I could just tell that when I have more intentional conversations, stuff just comes up. You know, I'm not with the fluff. So like, it's going to come up eventually.
So it's just about the intentional conversation with somebody.
Very much so.
You back with this, Hook?
I think so. Am I?
You think so?
Like, I don't know.
We see you.
Hey man, I've been over here struggling, bro. All right, no, but I was able to hear you guys, but I guess you couldn't see me, so I've been following the flow of the conversation. And you touched on a lot of things I was going to ask anyways, but I guess another thing I want to ask is about yourselves. Like, what have you learned about yourselves through abstinence? Like, what has this experience taught you about yourself that you didn't previously know?
Ooh, I guess I'll go first. Man, oh man, I've learned so much about myself since the blinder of sex has been removed from the table, because it's like you don't have that to cover up how you really feel anymore. You're having to do a lot of sitting with yourself and God and seeing, okay, you know what? I actually need to face this about myself. You'll be able to recognize if you're a people pleaser, if you are codependent, if you have some trauma from your childhood that you're looking for a partner to fill. You'll be able to see these different things about yourself when you don't have that person filling it anymore. And so for me, that's how I've actually been able to see, man, I got a lot of work to do on myself. And I never would have found my purpose. I never would have found the work that I'm supposed to be doing. I would still be out here mimicking what everybody else is doing and what looks like the ideal standard of, where you should be in this world. By this point, I would be doing what everybody else is doing. When he set me apart, he's called me to be a light. I would not be able to see that if I had not taken sex off the table. And so that has been so pivotal for me, because again, I had such a false reality of my identity when I was finding the approval through man. And I was looking for their acceptance and their love instead of recognizing I was loved from the beginning. When I was in my mother's womb, I was already loved. God put me in this earth for a reason. He loved me from the very day I was born and before that too. So the love was already there. So I don't need to get it from another human. And that's where you find that peace. And you say, you know what? I can start from within. The love is going to come from within. And then from there, I can start to build my cup up so that now I'm not pulling on a man to fill this void in me. I have what I need, and I can come and add to him in the right timing.
I love that. Jessica, you want to share anything about that?
I can share so much. There's something I will say though, not to simply piggyback off of Gigi. I do believe that the separation has really identified who I truly am. Because you can get lost in trying to become a we so bad and us so bad that you do not know who that I is inside of that. And so I will say that, again, taking sex off the table for me has just highlighted how much of an idol I made it in my previous life, my previous relationships. And in part because, like Gigi said, like marriage is like really pushed down women's throats a lot. I think more often than it is men. So men get to exist in the world and they get to be 40 years old and not have any kids, not be married, and it'd be okay. Like, oh, he's such a good guy. He's saving himself. He don't have no kids right now. Like, he's so responsible. But a woman, she ain't got no kids. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, and so I fell victim to that cog of just feeling like so nobody wants me, and just trying to figure out like, how can I get acceptance? And again, like I said, sex was the easier option because everybody was desensitized to it. And so it was easy to have a counterfeit of feeling accepted, feeling wanted, just to lean into somebody's like sexual desire of you and to confuse that with actual love and actual commitment. And also, like Gigi said, just recognizing that God obviously loved us before we were even here. But if you think about scientifically how improbable it is that we all were born, like our bodies do not want to keep, a zygote. They don't want to keep that egg. So the fact that a pregnancy it came to term, you were born, is a miracle in and of itself. And so when I started to recognize it, I'm like, I was bought with a price. Like, this body is not my body. I don't have the right to overeat. I don't have the right to cut myself. I don't have the right to abuse this thing that was a gift that, through all intents and purposes, I should not be here. Just like, again, with the frequency of being born. And so when I just remember that, like, I have a purpose that is outside of being somebody's like play toy, like, I have to remind myself that I am here for something much bigger than that. And so should God want me to be connected to a man, I can experience all the things that marriage has to offer. But I have so much purpose as a single person. I can be successfully single and still contribute to the kingdom. And sex does not have to be a part of my daily life, should God not want me to be married.
So how do you guys stay committed during the challenging times? Because obviously we're all human, right? We all have these emotions and feelings and things like that. Things get hard, challenging. How do you guys stay committed?
I'm gonna be honest with you. God has made it so easy for me. He has made it easy. I can't do it in my own strength. So because I have committed to him and we have this promise going on where I'm like, Lord, I'm waiting on you. He honors that. He honors covenant so very much. So when we come into agreement with God, God is unfailing. He's like, oh, you serious about me? I got you. So anybody who's a distraction, anybody who's not sent by him, he literally will end it very quickly for me. And he'll allow it to just dissipate. It won't even be a distraction anymore. He takes care of it for me. I've seen him time and time again handle it to where I don't even have to be caught up in temptation because he's protecting me like a dad really would protect his daughter. And so a scripture that also keeps me grounded is 1 Corinthians 6:19, which says, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit in you,
Lord.
whom you have from God? You are not your own. So when you know that you don't belong to yourself, this body was given to us to do the work of the Lord. So I can't just go abuse it and do whatever I want to do. When I stand on the word, it keeps me grounded. I have all that I need. And then he be backing me up.
Yeah.
He having my back.
That prayer to remove people out your life is a dangerous prayer. Because I'm telling you, it will happen. I'm like, what?
For real.
It was just good.
You just talk to them. I appreciate y'all saying it that way because, again, people who have not chosen the same path or not found their path this way, they think that it's a challenge. They think that it's a hard journey that you're fighting with like the other side is right. You're fighting with what's right, but really you're not. You've already accepted what you believe is right, and there is no fight. There is no challenge that you have to face. So I appreciate that.
And I will say that there are practical things you can do. I do believe, like, so for me, I feel like everybody cute, you know? So I sometimes feel like I can have a new crush every single week. It don't
every week, let me tell you.
It, like my mama, she know. I have no type, okay? Like I can find beauty in so many things. So for my individual walk, I honestly have to put parameters and fences around my conduct, like staying at people's houses after a certain time, going to people's houses in general when like the sun is setting. Like I know that's a trigger for me. I know staying up after a certain time will be a trigger for me, and then I'll start to feel like, ooh, I'm a little lonely. Maybe I'll call somebody, or maybe I'll watch something, you know, like, and I just have to know myself. So I just know the triggers that will keep me from walking pure. And again, there's no condemnation in Jesus. So he forgives, he is open. And I just think the enemy wants us to separate ourselves from him so much that we just feel like so dirty. And like, oh my gosh, these thoughts, like they keep coming. Like clearly I'm not walking in the light of Jesus. And so the enemy wants to like confuse us. So I really just feel, again, having good community, knowing your triggers, and just staying prayed up, and also going to bed on time. You know, like if you know you get a little bit, go to sleep.
Or you have your mom checking your location, like, why you not home? Where you at?
Oh my gosh, she be the what? Like, I'm like, it's my mom.
Now, even though I feel like I've missed the entire episode.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know, right? Yeah, but I heard everything that everyone said, right? And really, what I like you guys to do now, like give the audience like a major takeaway. Like, what advice would you guys give to someone who is considering abstinence?
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do all things in Christ, and he's going to strengthen you. You can do all things. I think a lot of times we think it's going to be a hard journey, and it's really not. It's really not a hard journey. Once you have set your mind, just like you set goals in life, like I'm going to meet this goal. You can do this too. I think a lot of times we got to take back some steps a little bit and let the Lord guide you. You know, stop trying to do everything on your own. Ask some questions. Let people know that this is the route you want to go. You know, if they judge you, oh well. You know, it's better in waiting. It's beauty in waiting. I am trying to tell you. You know, you won't run into a lot of things. You know, your unmarried friend might pop out and say, "Oh Lord, I got a baby on the way." Well, you practicing abstinence. Be happy.
Not a whole baby on the way.
Nah, for real though. That's what be going on.
Gigi, Jessica, y'all want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll say definitely come to know exactly what God says about you, your purpose, and about marriage, his original design for marriage. Because when you're really looking to please God with your life, when you get to that point where you're like, I don't want this life that I've been living, like I really just want more of God, he will center you through his word. So everything about his character, everything you need to know about marriage, about life, about your identity is in the word. So you're going to want to begin to get familiar with what the word says. And again, find community as well who's like-minded, who understands the word and who's going to hold you accountable and lead before you properly. Because there are a lot of Christians who say they, believe, but they're not necessarily living out the word. So you want to find those people you can depend on who can correct you too. And correction is not always fun, but we literally all need it. So that's what I would say to keep us going.
Yeah. And definitely don't try to have a relationship with God through another person. I do believe that, no shade, but like the church community that I was a part of before, I do feel like there was just a lot of sensationalism, and people went to church to scream and cry and yell, and then the other 6 days they were not living a submitted life. And so I do think a lot of times we can lose people because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to go to those churchy people," you know, because one, they may be hypocrites, or two, they're just not living a submitted life, and so they're interacting with people who are negative and exclusionary, and they're like, "Okay, well, I don't ever want to be around that God, like the God you support, like never." And so I would always just tell people, like, even if you're not in a community currently that prioritizes abstinence, get to know God for yourself. Read the Bible for yourself. Learn his character for yourself. And one, I forget where it is in the Bible, but one line really sticks out to me, where it says that when we commit sexual sin, it's a sin against ourselves. And so we prostitute parts of Christ when we go out and commit sexual sin. And I was like, I don't want to be a prostitute for Christ. Like, I don't like what? You know, and I was like, if people 2,000 some years ago is saying, like, here is a path for freedom, and you can live that secular life, and you can see the ramifications of having all these sexual attachments to people, and that's not fulfilling you, then I'm like, why not choose another path? So I would just tell people to just stay curious. Abstinence is cool. Abstinence is fun. Jesus is cool. And there's so many other things you can do to fill in that space that you may have allowed sex to become an idol in, or relationships to become an idol in. There's so many other things that can fill in that space. And obviously, God is our source, you know, so we don't need to use him as like a genie to just like pray and get stuff from, and then we just put him on the shelf. Like, he is an ever constant presence in our lives. And so when we say that Jesus is Lord, like, we have to start living that, you know, because there's going to be so many people who get to the end of their life and they said, well, I was a Christian, and God is like, I never knew you. And he will show you your life, and he will show you where you have the opportunity to yield to a higher authority, and you allowed community culture to tell you what you were going to do. And so I just don't want to be that person where God is like, oh, you spent 95 of your years being a fake, you know? So trying to live the right life, and not even the right life. I'm just trying to live authentically, you know. And if I say I'm going to do something, if I say I'm going to be a Christian, then let me go hard for Christ, you know? So.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And really quickly to piggyback on that, I really appreciate how you said that people are watching us, and our walk can really detour them or bring them closer to God. Like, a lot of times we think that we're just living for ourselves and it doesn't matter how we live or how we represent. But no, we are called to be the light. People are looking at us to see, are we really serious about God, and how is God working in our life? You know, what is our commitment like? And so our lives speak of the goodness of God. And so people need to see our commitment and our dedication. And when we are not living according to the will of God, and we're doing things just like the world, it makes Christianity look bad. It does not make kingdom look good. It doesn't make God look good. And that's not what he wants. I think a lot of times we forget that our brand, our identity, our reputation it comes from kingdom first. It comes from heaven first. You know, we don't identify with the ways of this world. So when people see me, I need them to see my commitment to God. I need them to see that I'm serious. That is what encourages people to live this walk. So it's so seriously for us to not just talk it, but to actually live it out.
Yeah, and that's real though, because I guess I didn't realize this until I got married. Like, especially with my girls, right? I'll say something, not even thinking anything about it, and then like 2 weeks later, they'll recall what I said or what I did. So they're always watching. So that's made me more cognizant. Like, you know what? I need to watch what I do, watch what I say, because my girls are watching, and I'm not perfect, but I would love for them to find a partner who is similar to a lot of the values I try to instill in them. So that's just something I'm really mindful of, and especially since I don't have any sons, so I'm a lot more in tune with what women need and what they want and what they desire. So you know, I'm just trying to make sure that my girls, you know, I'm sure there's someone listening to this conversation. So trust me.
They're very blessed.
Yeah.
You speak of them a lot, and I know that they're so loved. So I hope they know how blessed they are to have you as a dad, for real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Shannon, let's get your Shannonism.
Hey, I know I sit on this podcast all the time and just smile and smile and smile. I'm a smiling person, but today I'm smiling for a whole another reason. I'm pretty sure she probably didn't want me to mention anything about the fact we were related, but I'm just so proud, so proud of my baby girl. Like I said, our journeys are extremely different. We recognize that. We talk about that all the time, but I can't be more proud of what she's chosen for herself and the reasons why she's chosen that for herself. She grew up in the church, but like I said, we didn't have this conversation. Like, this was not how I displayed, or even how we communicate about displaying how faith should look, or what it should look like, even though she knows that this house is abundantly lives on a lot of faith. So I'm just so proud, and I'm just so happy, and I'm just so pleased. I know one of the commenters said, they were very proud about how evolved these young people are, and the fact that these were not the conversations I was having with my friends at 27 and 30. This is just not where I was. So for you all to be in a place where you've already identified that this is the way for yourselves, I just think is amazing. And then even looking at someone in my age group, Jessica talked about how the conference had people from all age ranges, all ethnicities, and things like that. Like, that's amazing, because even if you don't start this way, you can get this way. Your journey with God, your faith walk with God is never too late to figure that out. So I'm beaming. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that you all came to have this.
Thank y'all for having us. Yeah. Thank you for creating this space for us. You're both amazing.
And we do want to thank all of our guests for sharing. We know it's not always an easy conversation to have, so we do appreciate you for letting us in and being vulnerable. We do want to thank the audience for tuning in.
Yes.
And we thank you. We really, you guys have been open. You've been honest.
It's been wonderful.
So it's a great thing, and hopefully this conversation gave everyone something to think about, right? So whether it's about love, whether it's about patience, or just making choices that feel right for you, right? And again, we appreciate you all for rocking with this, that, and the third. So until next time, stay true, stay curious, and stay informed. We appreciate you.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.